This is Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque, continuing 16 years on air and online, helping you succeed in buying, selling, and investing in property. The best real estate strategies out there just for you.
Welcome to Real Estate This Week. Hi again, I'm Stephen Gasque, and I'm so glad you're here as we talk about selling your house. And a big question, why wait for spring when so many other people plan to sell? Why not do it right now and beat the competition? Let's talk about it now with a real estate pro. Joining us is Corrine Fitzgerald, broker-owner at Fitzgerald Real Estate in Greenfield, Massachusetts, and the past president of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. Corrine was also the president of the Franklin, Hampshire County Association of Realtors and the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley as well. Plus, Corrine has her own real estate radio show that airs on 98.3 and 95.3 in Western Massachusetts. Corrine, welcome to Real Estate This Week.
It's great to be here. Thank you very much, Steve.
You're very welcome, and I'm so glad you're here because we're going to talk about selling your house now rather than waiting for the spring. In our telephone conversation the other day, you brought that up, and I thought that was a great idea. So tell me, what's the strategy here about selling now rather than waiting for the spring market?
A lot of people believe that the spring market is the best time to sell their house. And, in some ways, I can see why they would think that because everything's green, the flowers are coming up, everything's more cheerful, and it's a good time of year to sell. And because of that, there's a lot more people that agree with that and will put their house on the market in the spring. So there's going to be a lot of competition in the spring. So if you look to sell your house in the winter, a couple things that you need to know that I think are very important points. And that is that there's real buyers out there looking in the winter. Okay, if they really want to buy a house, they're out there looking, and there's much less competition. Steve, and there's a saying that I say that nothing says that they're more interested in buying a house than climbing over a snowbank to get to an open house.
That's determination.
And I can tell you from the last several weeks of having properties on the market, the open houses that I've had have been very well attended. And two of the houses that I listed, both went under contract within a week.
Oh my gosh, Corrine, that is wonderful. And first of all, congratulations. And I know they're going all the way to the closing table if you are the realtor.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate the confidence.
Well, you're very welcome. And so let's talk about that now. A lot of people think, well, in the winter, I'm going to spend some time and get my house all ready, and I'm going to clean it up. I'm going to do some painting. And then by the time spring rolls around, it'll look like $1 million. So there's the big question. Will I get more bucks in the spring than I would in the winter?
So a lot of times homeowners have an idea of what they want to do to their home to get it ready for the market. And a lot of times when I go to the house and I talk with them about what their plan is and what they're hoping to do, not all of what they're expecting to do will bring the results that they're looking for. So number one thing, they should definitely get a professional in to give them the advice prior to them putting it on the market. That's this time of year or any time of year. Whenever they decide they're going to be putting their house on the market, they should get a realtor in and ask them, what's going to maximize my value? Okay, because some of these capital improvements that they're looking to do will take years to pay off. So it's really important to get the advice ahead of time.
Well, that's really important information, Corrine, because after all, that realtor that you bring into your house, when they give you advice, they're not basing it just on your house. They're basing it on all the other homes in your area that they have seen and homes that have sold. So they know what they're talking about.
Correct. And we know that there's a difference between value, which has to do with dollar amounts, and marketability, which has to do with what's going to attract that buyer to choose your house over somebody else's house.
I
And they're
see.
two very different pieces. And the improvements that they want to do sometimes bring value, which translates to money, and marketability, again, which has to do with attracting a buyer. But sometimes the improvements that we're talking about brings both the value and marketability.
So, Corrine, can you give us some examples of improvements that are really worth the money and that will help you not only enjoy your house more, but sell it faster and for more money?
You know what, Steve? It's very simple, and that is making it look as attractive to the buyer as possible. Make sure all the paint is intact. I can tell you that for all these years I've been doing this, it's going to be 40 years. Can you believe it, Steve? It'll be 40 years this year. I know. So when they get to the front door, if they see chipping and peeling paint, I watch their eyes. And as they walk in the house, they're looking for problems. Okay, so you want to make sure your entrance is very attractive. I tell people, make sure that you have your paint intact, make sure it's clean and crisp, and that if you have carpets, a lot of buyers to these days are looking for solid floors, with the exception of bedrooms. Sometimes people like carpet in bedrooms. If you've got hardwood floors, show them. Rip up the carpets, make sure everything's painted nicely. And I also tell people, make sure your windows are sparkly clean. You want to make sure that the house has had an opportunity to have a fresh look to it. That's number one. Your mechanicals should be all working properly. And as simple as it sounds, make sure if you have a basement in your house that it doesn't look like, quote, scary basement. Okay, as simple as wiping down your heating systems and wiping down your oil tank and wiping down any of that. Get rid of cobwebs. Those are really simple fixes that go a long way to
Oh,
attract a buyer.
Corrine, that is great advice. And let's pause for a moment there because I know that back when I was a realtor, the advice that I gave many clients was in your basement, replace all the light bulbs down there with 100-watt bulbs. So it's bright and shiny when they walk in and not, as you say, scary.
Yes, and they have a new type of bulb right now where it looks like almost like a spaceship. Okay, it screws right into a socket, but it has like these three wings to it, and they're LEDs, and they are fantastic. They send out so much light, and they're more efficient than you can get in a regular bulb. I highly recommend them.
Oh, that sounds absolutely wonderful. And now, the fixes you're talking about, we're not talking about replacing the kitchen or replacing the bathroom or doing big money projects. We're talking about things that people can do themselves without taking out a home equity line of credit.
Yes, now the changing bathrooms and changing kitchens are the most expensive fixes on a house. And they take a long time to pay off. Same as roofs and heating systems and windows. Those are all capital improvements. But sometimes if a kitchen is very dated and it needs repair, it could be worth the investment. Changing out vanities and changing out toilets and showers and those kind of things could bring in enough value. And it could be a marketability piece because those are important items to buyers. So I think it would depend. Okay. So I can't say a unilateral decision. It's going to be get the advice from a realtor that you trust that can come in and evaluate that for you.
I see. I see. And so, as we discussed, a lot of people are doing that sort of evaluation right now in the winter months, expecting that they'll put their house on the market with a big for sale sign out front when spring hits. But again, you recommend getting a jump on the competition and getting your house on the market right now. So, what's it like marketing a place when the for sale sign might be covered with snow?
Well, once we get the sign in the ground, well, if you're in the cold countries where we are, of course, in New England, those signs don't go in the ground very well. And they don't come out of the ground very well. And then I swear that the snow plows head for them, but that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But, my thought has always been, Steve, that a house is ready to go on the market when it's camera ready. Okay, because you have that one first shot at a first impression, right? And so if your house is ready to go on the market now, and it's camera ready, go for it. I just went and photographed a house today. And, as you know, we just got a whole mess of snow here. And I walked in the backyard up to my knees to get those pictures, okay, of the back of the house. But people do put their houses on the market in the winter, and they have a really good shot at selling them because there's real buyers out there in the middle of winter. And think about it this way, too, Steve. Some people will say, I don't want to move in the winter. But think about how long it takes for a real estate transaction to happen from the time it goes under contract till the time it closes, right? If somebody puts their house on the market now, we're talking closing sometime in March, early April right now. So you
Right.
won't be moving it, you won't be moving in the winter. You'll still be moving in the early spring.
Oh, that's really smart. That's really smart. Now, a question though about the buyers. As you said, if someone is really looking for a house in the winter, that's a serious buyer. They've probably got their
Absolutely.
financing all lined up and they are ready to go. But in the spring, wouldn't you have the chance of multiple buyers and the house could get bid up in value at time of sale?
Maybe. I mean, it's hard to say what the spring's going to bring. I mean, because it's more buyers tend come out in the spring. Yes. So could there be multiple offers? It depends on how the house is priced. If the house, and it depends on what price range they're in. There's a lot of factors to keep in mind when you're thinking about could a multiple offer happen, depending on the type of house. As an example, a ranch style house is in high demand right now. There's so many buyers for one level living, right? You got the retirees, you got the first time home buyers, you got move up buyers, you got all kinds of buyers looking for one level houses. Could you have multiple offers on that house? Yes, if it's priced correctly. Depending on the price range, depending on the location, you could have multiple offers in the winter too. Okay, so it's hard I can't 100% quantify that as will there be more in the spring.
But there's one thing we can quantify is that if you do wait until the spring market, say March or April or even May, you'll be paying 2, 3, 4, 5 months worth of mortgage, utilities, taxes, and other bills on the house that you intend to leave.
That's a very accurate statement.
And so, with that in mind, when you talk to someone who's thinking about selling their house in the spring, and then you recommend doing it sooner rather than later, what's their reaction, Corrine?
Once we go over what we just talked about the amount of buyers that are out there, real buyers in the winter, and being camera ready and all of that, and talk about the cost of maintaining a house through the winter with snow removal and taxes and utilities and oil and gas and all of that, right? A lot of times they'll feel like this would be the right time to sell. And I had that conversation with the people that I'm listing the house that I photographed today. They were originally going to wait till spring. And then we had that conversation and they realized the benefit of doing it sooner.
Interesting. Interesting.
And, and that's going on the market next week.
Oh, that's wonderful, Corrine. And another question about selling in the winter. If a buyer gets your house under contract and they have a home inspection, how do you inspect the roof when there's 18 inches of snow on it?
They can't. That's a good question. So you can't inspect a roof, in the middle of winter because of the snow accumulation. But most of them can get up in the attic, and most of them can see how the decking looks and making sure there's no penetration of moisture. And also, they're going to ask to the listing agent, as to, what they know about the age of the
Right.
roof. So that could factor in as well.
I
So no,
see.
you can't inspect the roof when there's all that level of snow, but there are some ways around it, and that's how most inspectors handle it.
And so, okay, we all know that curb appeal is a big deal, especially in the spring. But in the winter, now I guess you can shovel very nicely and you can make sure that every walkway and every step is nicely cleared. What about that? Is that sort of the winter equivalent of curb appeal?
You have to keep your walkways clear. I mean, for not only for your photographs, but also for safety reasons, right? And so a lot of people will shovel off decks and clear their walkways. Um, they may put something nice in the windows, to dress it up a little bit. But yeah, there's not a lot you can do with that. And, now that we're past the holiday season, you won't have those type of decorations out to date the time of listing.
Right.
So, yeah. So no, I always say photograph the house right after a fresh snow.
Oh, that's
So
a
you
good
don't
idea.
have that dirty kind of, walkways, you know what I mean? You have it nice and fresh and clean if you can, if there's any way to do it that way.
And here's a question that might or might not be based on my personal experience. Should you shovel off your deck?
Yes, that's an easy one. Yes. People put chairs out there, lawn chairs out there. Some people have the grill covered, that kind of thing. Today, when I photographed that house, I always shoot from the house on my back with the deck in front of me to the yard. And I try to get in whatever furniture is there to make it look like what it would be like for someone to spend time there.
I see.
So, yes.
I
Yeah.
see. And tell us about a winter open house. You mentioned this earlier, that open houses are very busy in the winter. So tell us, what's it like showing a house to a number of people in the winter?
That's a very good point. That I call that open house etiquette. Okay, so I just had an open house this past weekend when all the hardwood floors were just recently refinished. So you can imagine that there was a sign on the door that says, "Please remove your shoes or put on the booties." Okay, so I always recommend that if your shoes are wet or dirty, muddy or sandy, that shoes come off. And I can tell you that 99.9% of the people, including the children, understand and will do that. And they'll take their shoes off or wear the booties.
I see. That's interesting. Interesting, Corrine. And
Yep.
also, what about someone who comes to the house and they have a whole bunch of people with them and they just keep the front door wide open while everybody gets out of the car and starts towards the front door and the heat is escaping the house? Is that ever an issue or is that not so much?
No, the door stays closed. The door stays closed, and there's a sign on the door that says, "Welcome, come on in. Please remove your shoes or you wear the booties."
I see.
No, yeah, and people are very understanding about that. They really are. I mean, they're the hardest part with the open houses in the winter is parking. When you have snowbanks
Ah,
and you have narrow streets, that's where you get a little bit of a challenge. I had a house 2 weeks ago that I had an open house at, small little ranch that sat down below the road, and the road up above, those country roads. And with snowbanks, there's not a lot of places to park,
right.
right? So I think the biggest challenge in the wintertime is the parking for open houses.
I see. Interesting.
But they work it out. They all work it out.
Right. And inside, would you have photographs of what the house looks like in seasons other than winter?
Not only for the open house, but for showings as well. And quite often, when I list a house in the winter, the owner will have spring and summer pictures. So if I have a shot, I'll say the front on the right-hand side in the winter, I'm going to show a spring shot of that same house,
Nice.
that same angle. So that's one of the things that I would do. Seasonal shots, absolutely. If you have them, put them out.
Also, Corrine, inside that home, if there's a fireplace, would there be a fire going? Or is that not really going to happen?
So I will say for a pellet stove or a gas stove that's enclosed, I'd say yes. For a fireplace, that would be a question that the owner would have to agree upon. It's a little tricky for a wood fireplace because you've got to keep feeding it. Okay, so I don't know about a fireplace. I definitely, when I have a client with a pellet or gas enclosed stove, that will be running. And as a matter of fact, last week, that's the house that had the open house at, did have a pellet stove running, and it was very effective.
I see. I see. Well, Corrine, let's sum it up now. Many people will wait for spring to put their homes on the market. But here you are living in a state that's covered with snow right now, and yet you're saying, do it now. Sell now. So what's the bottom line here? Why, Corrine?
Because buyers that are looking this time of year, and there's plenty of them, are serious buyers, and they're out there. They're absolutely out there. I can prove that by the last two houses that I listed in the last 2 weeks. Both are under agreement, and both open houses were very well attended.
So this is a strategy that you have experienced, and you know it just works.
Absolutely. You have less competition in the winter as a seller, and there's plenty of buyers out there, and they're real buyers out there looking in the winter. In the spring, you're going to have a lot more competition, and you're going to have buyers that are out there that may or may not be buying, that might be just testing the waters.
Well, Corrine, I really want to thank you for being on the show today and giving us such a great idea of not waiting for spring, but instead putting your house on the market right now in the dead of winter. Corrine, thank you.
My pleasure. Great talking with you again, Steve. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure with you too. Corrine Fitzgerald, broker-owner at Fitzgerald Real Estate in Greenfield, Massachusetts, and the past president of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors. Corrine was also the president of the Franklin, Hampshire County Association of Realtors, and also the Realtor Association of the Pioneer Valley. Plus, Corrine has her own real estate radio show that airs on 98.3 and 95.3 in Western Massachusetts. Next time on Real Estate This Week, we'll take you to Alaska, where they've seen lows of 40 below. How do you handle that and keep yourself, your family, and your house safe? We'll ask an Alaska homeowner how she beats the brutal cold. And until then, I'm Stephen Gasque, and thank you for listening.
A brand new episode of Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque drops every Thursday, everywhere. And you're invited to listen, subscribe, and follow us. Just look for Real Estate This Week with Stephen Gasque. The best real estate strategies out there, just for you.